Welcome to Animeconomy. Okay, picture this. You've trained your entire life, you've pushed past every single limit, but on the day of the final tournament, you're watching from the sidelines. And your rival, the one you know deep down you should have beaten, they get the victory that echoes through the world. You feel that sting of being left behind, right? That crushing weight of your own unfulfilled potential. Well, here at Animeconomy, we dive into the powerful ideas that shape our world. And today we're asking a really tough question. What if that bitter feeling, that deep frustration, is the secret source of an idea that has completely defined modern society? So check this out. This quote from an 18th century thinker, Justice Moser, pretty much flies in the face of everything we're taught about fairness. He's suggesting that a world based on pure merit, where you get exactly what you deserve, well, that wouldn't be a paradise. It would be a source of unbelievable psychological pain. I mean, it's a radical idea, and it is right at the heart of the story we're unpacking today. And this story, as the economist Ludwig von Mises tells it, it doesn't start with supply and demand or, boring charts. No, it starts with a feeling we all know, the agony of frustrated ambition. It's that gnawing feeling of knowing you could have, or maybe should have achieved more. See, in a free market society, all the old excuses they disappear. And that creates this immense pressure because your successes and, your failures are pretty much a reflection of your own actions. Every time a friend succeeds or a former colleague gets that big promotion, it can feel like a silent judgment on your own life's choices. So you gotta wonder, right? Have we, as humans, always lived with this heavy, heavy burden of personal responsibility? Mises tells us to look back, way back, to the world before capitalism. He calls it a status society. And in this world, your destiny was basically sealed the moment you were born. In that world, if you were born a peasant, you died a peasant. End of story. And I know that sounds incredibly restrictive, but Mises points out that it offered a strange kind of psychological comfort. Your place in life wasn't a personal failure. It was just a role assigned to you by fate or God or whatever superhuman powers people believed in. There was literally no reason to be ashamed. It wasn't your fault. You were just playing the part you were given. But then, capitalism comes along and just shatters that old, rigid world. It tears down the walls of caste and status, and it creates this vast, open field of competition where anyone, at least in theory, could rise all the way to the top. And this shift is just fundamental. Your fate isn't determined by your family name anymore. It's determined by your ability to serve other people in the marketplace. So if you fail now, you can't just blame it on cosmic bad luck. That responsibility, it falls squarely on your shoulders. And for a lot of people, that is a weight that's just too heavy to bear. And so the search for an excuse begins. To explain how this market actually works, Mises uses this really powerful metaphor. He calls it the daily plebiscite. Now, a plebiscite is just a direct vote by everyone on some huge issue. In the market, that vote happens every single day, with every single purchase we make. And we vote with our money. Every penny you spend is a vote for a business, for a product, for a creator. This means it's the masses, us, the consumers, who are the ultimate sovereigns. We're the ones who decide who gets rich and who fails. It's not some king or a nobleman, it's just regular people. Which brings us right back to that dark feeling from the beginning. In this new system where consumers are the judges, what happens when you're tried and you're found wanting? Where do you put all that frustration, that resentment? I mean, who do you blame when there's really no one to blame but yourself? This, right here, is the absolute core of Mises' argument. To get back his own self-respect, to quiet that nagging inner voice of failure, the frustrated individual starts looking for a scapegoat. He starts to create a new story, a new narrative. It's not that he failed, it's that the system is rigged. He starts telling himself, oh, I didn't succeed because I'm just too honest. I'm too decent to play the dirty games my rivals did to get ahead. It's an incredibly powerful psychological defense mechanism. And this is the real kicker. This is where a personal feeling of resentment morphs into this grand, overarching philosophy. That individual search for a scapegoat gets upgraded into a full-blown critique of the entire social order. The system itself becomes the ultimate villain. Mises even points to specific groups he thinks are really prone to this way of thinking. Intellectuals, white-collar workers, even the relatives of super successful entrepreneurs. What do they all have in common? Well, it's their close proximity to people who've achieved even greater success. It makes their own perceived failures feel so much more intense, so much more personal. If any of this is resonating with you, if you've ever felt that sting of frustration, maybe take a moment to like this explainer and share it. It really helps us continue to make more of these. Okay, so all of this analysis brings us to a final choice. And this is where the real battle is fought. Not out there in the economy, but right here inside ourselves. Here's the crucial point, the hard truth that Mises lays out. Freedom doesn't hide our differences in talent or discipline or drive. Nope. It makes them starkly and sometimes pitilessly visible for everyone to see. There's just nowhere left to hide. And this is Mises' ultimate conclusion. This one sentence, it places both the immense power and the absolutely terrifying responsibility of life directly into your hands. You are the architect. You are the founder. And that leaves us with one last lingering question. We celebrate freedom, we fight for it, but do we ever really stop to consider its psychological cost? Maybe the true price of liberty isn't just eternal vigilance. Maybe it's the courage to face our own reflection in the mirror, to accept our own shortcomings, and to still choose to build, to strive, and to become the founders of our own fortune. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Anime Economy and check the link in the description to get the book.